For Rivals.com, I'm National Recruiting Analyst and Rankings Director Adam Friedman here with fellow National Recruiting Analyst John Garcia to talk about some of the biggest risers you've seen over the last month. You've been to a bunch of 7-on-7 tournaments. You were just at the Under Armour camp in Atlanta, and a few big names stood out to you, and a couple that are soon to be getting their first initial ranking, I should say. Let's start with one of the guys who is very well known on the recruiting trail. He's been committed to Auburn for over a year now. Malik Autry, the defensive tackle out of Alabama. He really showed out this weekend in Atlanta at the Under Armour camp. Isn't that right?
Yeah, Adam, Autry's a guy we've liked for a long time, obviously well entrenched in the Rivals 250 and a top 10 defensive tackle. So this is no, emerging recruit we're talking about. But I think number 8 DT might be too low for this kid. We've watched him the last few years at 275, 280, and then he shows up in Atlanta at 320. So the question becomes, okay, how well does he move? And it's all finesse power moves combined. Beautiful spin move to win during some of the one-on-ones. So not only carrying 320 well, but still moving incredibly well at 320 pounds. Just the ideal SEC interior defensive lineman. He's got the grit, and then that's why a lot of programs are trying to get him off of that Auburn verbal commitment. But no doubt a guy who I think is going to play and maybe be in position to be one of those top interior guys by the time the cycle is all wrapped up, especially if he continues to dominate at this newfound 320-pound frame.
Yeah, getting a chance to just watch some more of the film on him, it seems like he just has a much more well-rounded skill set at this point. He has those power moves. We saw the aggressiveness during the last camp season, and then certainly during the season, but it seems like he understands how to counter off of that with those finesse moves. He's really nimble for such a big guy, and I'm absolutely encouraged by the development we've seen from him. On the 7-on-7 circuit, Vernell Brown is a guy who has started to rise up the rankings for us, and I would imagine we're going to see his stock rise when the rankings update comes out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think for Vernell, there's always been this positional question, right? Just a supreme athlete, very long arms, incredible ball skills. I mean, grew up literally in an SEC recruiting office, so you understand that, he knows what he's going for on offense or defense. And I think regardless of where he plays, this is a playmaker, 5'11", 190 pounds or so, but just an explosive, twitchy, instinctive player. Love him at receiver. He's polished. He can run routes. He's got great top end speed, and the ball skills are there. But when you start thinking about defense, when you start thinking about the modern era of these speed and space type players that just flip games on their head, I think Vernell Brown's getting a little bit of defensive traction at the next level, and he plays that part like he's been doing it his whole life. So whether it's as a nickel, a receiver, a return man, and he just does a little bit of everything. And it's just to the point where every time we see him, he's continuing to make huge impact plays, even when the world knows he's getting the football on offense or defensively. Teams are like, hey, don't throw this guy's way. He's still finding a way to the football. And those are the kind of guys that just force our hand as evaluators. So we're going to move him from receiver to athlete in this next update. Huge bump coming for Vernell Brown, another guy who's going to be a staple in that Rivals 250, I would imagine, for most of the cycle.
I would think so, just based off of what we've seen so far this spring. It seems like he's maybe in a Florida lean, given the lineage there. Or what's going on in his recruitment right now? Do you think Florida is going to end up with him in the end?
I think it's going to be highly contested. All the in-state schools have begun to increase that communication. You mentioned it. Florida's basically where he grew up, Gainesville native. He's technically in Orlando now, but the Gator pull and lean is still certainly present with him. Miami's making it interesting, as they have for most of the top prospects in the state of Florida. Florida State is there. And then there's this other group of schools that are now continuing to up that ante for Vernell Brown as he gets closer to official visit season. So you never know. Can an Ohio State sneak into this one? Can another, big-time national program pull him away from the state of Florida? I wouldn't say it's likely, but it's certainly possible. And Vernell's going to take those trips, so we'll see.
Ohio State certainly has done well in the state of Florida with pass catchers. We'll say that. Now, John, you've been to a bunch of camps, like we've said. There's been a few players who are unrated who have started to catch your eye, but I know one player from Alabama has really kind of stood out among the rest of them. Isn't that right?
Yeah, Tristan Norman, a guy who we have not talked about at the national level, out of Carver High School in the Montgomery area. Very good junior season that we began tracking, 700 yards, double-digit touchdowns, a lot of what you like to see from a production standpoint against high-level competition. When we get a chance to see him live, you see it all come together. Great route runner, very loose hips. I mean, he has defensive backs guessing on which direction he's going to come out of his breaks at, and then he finishes away from his body. So he's not the biggest guy, 6 foot, maybe 165 pounds or so, but plucks it away from his body and can really get defenders guessing. He had the route of the Under Armour Atlanta event, double move that Juju Lewis threw him, so everyone was already watching, that rep anyway. And he had the defender on the dirt, and we all know the type of talent that is surrounding that Atlanta area. So I think Tristan Norman, who also ran a 4.55 laser, is an up-and-comer at the receiver ranks. Ole Miss just got involved. Arkansas just got involved. So this is a banner SEC-type prospect who will certainly get some stars next to his name as soon as possible.
Well, all right. That's some stock risers from national recruiting analyst John Garcia. You can follow him on Twitter and on Instagram at John Garcia_Jr. I'm national recruiting analyst and rankings director Adam Friedman. You can follow me at Rivals Friedman on Twitter and Instagram. Please remember to subscribe to the Rivals.com YouTube channel and follow all of the Rivals social media accounts. And of course, you can find all of our content on Rivals.com. Thanks again, John.
Thank you.